The American frontier, the Old West, or best known as the Wild West. The age of railroads being built, and so on. Wildlife and cattle roaming about, farmers, and the upcoming industrial age. But what most know it for is cowboys and outlaws. Individuals who just ignore the law and become an enemy of the law. We've had many, and I mean many, games depicting outlaws and becoming said outlaws. Games like Gun, Call of Juarez, and hell, even games that implement cowboy elements like Hunt Showdown and Fallout. Yes, Fallout. However, I'm sure many can agree that the Red Dead franchise, from the classic Red Dead Revolver to the amazing Red Dead Redemption starring John Marston, and lastly the most recent, but also the game we'll be covering, Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 follows the Dutch gang as the player plays as Arthur Morgan, one of the eldest members of the Dutch gang. Red Dead Redemption 2 is placed in 1899, where the end of the Wild West begins. The Dutch gang gets out of a bad robbery, and they become fugitives while running away from the law and bounty hunters alike. The gang sticks to the ways of the Wild West, robbing their way all throughout America in order to survive, but as Arthur, you choose his ideals, and you choose where his loyalty lies. But with that, I shall tell you that Red Dead Redemption 2 has a VR mod. Now before diving into the video further, if at any point in time during the video, if you enjoyed it at all, don't forget to hit the like button as it helps me fight the pesky Pinkertons called the YouTube algorithm. And don't forget to subscribe for more VR content like this and more. If you've watched some of my older content, you'll know that I played Red Dead Online, and I tend to still have a love for Red Dead Online and Red Dead Redemption 2 as a whole. Yet with the lack of love for Rockstar, it's hard to stay in the game, but that is another topic that I won't cover on my channel. If you've watched my most recent content, however, you may have seen that I've discovered flat screen to VR games. And that is where this video comes to play for Red Dead Redemption 2. Again, it has a VR mod. And before going any further, you do have to be a patron to LukeRoss for $10 a month to access the download of For Real VR. That's the title of the mod, Real VR, which also supports the Mafia trilogy. Before going into depth about this VR mod, I took the liberty of contacting LukeRoss and asking him some questions some people may be wondering, so here we go. LukeRoss started creating VR mods with his first in 2017 with No One Lives Forever 2. Then in 2019, GTA 5 VR came to light from his genius. The original intention of creating this real VR mods were to be implemented into these games and experience the full games in VR. Inspired by other VR mods of previous incarnations that were incomplete, Luke wanted to be a part of the game, a VR mod that conquers mods like Vorpix. Thus, the creation of the real mods, if that makes sense. After the initial release of the GTA 5 VR mod, the encouragement and large sense of enthusiasm pushed Luke to go further beyond his already well-deserved recognition. With much praise from the community about the mod that makes GTA 5 into a VR wonder, Luke continued his work, and as of this recording, it's reached over 150,000 downloads. Yet, we're talking about Red Dead Redemption 2 in this video, not to dismiss his accomplishments, but to recognize his other impressive feats. Luke states that tackling Red Dead Redemption 2 was brutal for him. He even thought it was impossible for him to create, and yet he proved himself wrong and released this VR mod on May 19th of 2021. As for Luke's team, here is a quote from Luke himself about the team. The team for this adventure is me, myself, and I. Between the three of us, we managed to work almost around the clock, and ending that with a smiley face. However, there have been others who have helped with some building blocks for Luke to create these mods, and to which he gives credits in his original GitHub for GTA 5 VR. I also asked Mr. Ross if he had any tips for users, what would they be, and so on, but with technical issues and many technical things to really mention, there are too many to list. But with the upcoming release, which should be posted the day this video goes live, so go to the Patreon page to see what's up, he just wanted to point you guys into that direction. I asked one last question as to what REAL is abbreviated to, and the answer is reality enhancement augmentation layer. This is paying homage to the developers of No One Lives Forever 2, the developers named Monolith Productions. Now on to the rest of the VR mod details. Now this is not like the other two I've covered so far. There is no motion controller support and there are no plans for it, sadly. However, as I played the mod after a few hardships of getting the mod to work, as well as getting the graphics set straight to where my retinas could be spared and my brain not succumbing to absolute nausea, causing me to be bedridden for a day. And yes, this actually happened with this particular mod. However, despite all that, the game in VR is actually pretty fun. It's got some jank, but going past the jank, it is actually very fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Playing the beginning of Red Dead 2 in VR was an absolute marvel. The snowy views and sights are simply beautiful, they're breathtaking, they're amazing. And the aiming in VR is actually not that bad either. You simply just move your head in the direction you want to shoot and fire with the normal bindings for either the mouse and keyboard or controller. I personally recommend the controller, especially in VR, as using a mouse and keyboard will probably be harder to remember the keys, especially unless you have excessively played it beforehand and know it like the back of your hand. For me though, that's not the case. I am an absolute nut when it comes to using keyboard for this game, but that's another story. Essentially, this game is not changed. You're just using your head for directional movement and shooting your weapon of choice. And you can see everything in like true 3D. You're in the game. You're virtually in the game of a different reality. Hence VR. It makes it real. Hence the real in the VR mod title, Real VR. Now I said there are some janks in this VR mod, at least for myself. It may be my specifications or something else entirely, and for context, I play with a 2080 Ti and an i7-8700 along with a 32GB of RAM, all in my wonderful PC. The said jankiness, though, is mainly from the fact of performance, to which there are countermeasures. And another janky feature that really bothered me was the motions that Arthur takes in first person, and sometimes even third person. Basically, you can tell that you're trying to be in sync with the individual. However, everyone has a different stance on motion sickness and so on. I tend to absolutely never have issues with motion sickness, but this game changed that in less than 30 minutes. The other janky bit is the image quality, specifically the effects around the characters and furs and so on. Essentially the components that make the game pop. Which, again, there are countermeasures within the game and within the tool that the Real Injection VR mod gives you. Within the tool, you can adjust settings to make the experience better for your specifications, and even extra features that will allow Arthur, or you, to automatically adjust to where your head is facing. The whole mod is quite intuitive, actually, and an absolute, again, it's a marvel to experience. You're viewing the Wild West in a VR lens, and that's all I can say. It's stunning. Even just the snowy mountains in the beginning are stunning alone. Now, I know I said there's no motion controllers, but don't let the lack of motion controllers stop you from playing this game in VR. It's actually an awesome experience getting past all the issues, if you ever attain those issues like I have anyway. The installation is actually really simple. Once you become a patron to LukeRoss, download the latest Real VR mod file, which the current version as of writing this is version 2.1.3 of the mod. Once you have the zip file downloaded, or RAR file, whatever you prefer, whichever, go to the installation folder of the game, whether it's in Epic Games, Rockstar, or Steam. The only difference is with Steam, like the previous two VR mods I've covered, right click the game, select properties, and under general, turn off the Steam VR Theater feature. I do not have it in Steam, I have it through Rockstar, so I can't show you this in the video, but it's the same for Risk of Rain 2 and GTFO in VR. So if you watch those, it's the same process. Now, once you go to your directory, open the zip file and drag all the contents into the folder. Once you have done so, run the realconfig.bat file and select an option you think will best suit your computer. I tried optimize and high, and they both seemed pretty okay. They weren't that bad for my specifications. That was it. You just select one and you're good to go. After that, just simply launch your VR device, then run the game and it will automatically put you into RDR VR. To get some more functionality and fine-tune settings with the tool that Real gives you, press the pause button on the keyboard to open the menu for it, or both triggers on a controller while paused. There are options to adjust the GPU throttle. Sliding to the left, I believe, adjusts the throttle towards the game itself for more frame rate, and to the right goes to your VR headset. So find the common middle ground for you specifically. Everyone's different. Now I'll put my settings of the tool on screen. There are also the resolution scales and more. Just explore your settings and find what suits you, as I said before. Before getting into your game though, some suggestions for some immersion and less headaches. Within the settings tabs of your controller in-game, set the lock on mode for both being on foot or mounted up or horseback, whatever. Set those to free aim. And another thing you can do is set your radar to compass for a little bit added immersion. If you're like me and playing this, if you have some mad motion sickness, you can reduce the head bob for the first person in the camera settings. Now, as I said, I absolutely love, and I mean love, Red Dead Redemption. It's one of my favorite games of all time, and particularly the franchise in itself. And to witness it in VR is, in one word, awesome. It's awesome. It's breathtaking, as Keanu once said for Cyberpunk. It's breathtaking. Well, specifically he said you're breathtaking, but you know what I mean. You're breathtaking! However, there are many things that you must know before really playing the game in VR. You can easily, and I mean easily, get motion sick, and your eyes can get easily strained without the proper settings, whether it's your IPD or the game settings itself. I personally experienced a really bad case of nausea, headaches, and eye strain when playing it for the first time. But that was the first time. And after extensive reading and suggestions from other users in the VR community that have also experienced this mod, I fixed my issue for the most part. The game still tends to have some sense of blur, and it's not as sharp as you'd expect it to be. However, despite all the hardships on my end, I thoroughly enjoyed the mod. Witnessing the acts of the Dutch gang in VR and playing as Arthur Morgan and essentially becoming Arthur, I essentially became a cowboy, an outlaw, of which is unlikely in true reality because, well, one word, city. I was slightly disappointed that there are no motion controls and there are no plans for it, but I completely understand that it would be an extensive amount of coding and so on, basically rearranging the game itself just to please people. But I'm glad Luke has spared himself the efforts of doing that. The gamepad experience is still great and it's bearable to play when you're using it. It's definitely weird for me because I have never played a VR game with a gamepad or a mouse and keyboard. So this was definitely different for me. I've always played with motion controllers. With any VR title, I've never played like this, so this was different, but it was a newer experience for me, and I'm okay with that. The Outlaw experience in VR is grand, with its vast landscapes and wildlife, and one that I was glad to be able to experience, and I hope you will enjoy it too. With all that being said, talking about and becoming the Outlaws, becoming one with Arthur Morgan's head, I hope you enjoyed the video. The Patreon link for LukeRoss will be in the description, and that is also the location of the mod, so there are nothing free. This mod is not free, but respectfully so. So, if you want it, it's only $10 to support Luke and his efforts, his absolute genius. So, if you want to try it, just do it. It's $10. It's not like it's $100. It's not like it's a full-blown game. $10 is not going to kill you. Come on, support the man. He's a genius. Now, tell me, after watching this video, do you plan to try Red Dead in VR? Do you want to become the cowboy that is Arthur Morgan, a notorious outlaw of the Dutch gang? Let me know in the comments. Give me your honest thoughts and so on. I'm curious to know, and I want to start a conversation with you. If you want to carry this conversation on longer, though, go to the Soul Chamber, my Discord server. There you will also be notified and up to date with my content, so you can do that. You can also come chat with me, my fellow souls. You know, we're having a good time. And side note, I started a Patreon of my own. This is only intended as like a tip jar of sorts, but there are perks still. You can support me there for as little as $1 a month if you wanted to, but just know I do not want nor need your money, but feel free to do as you wish with it. The link for that is in my link tree, as well as a separate link for it in the description. Now, if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button. It helps me fight the YouTube algorithm that is the Pinkertons. And if you're interested in other VR content as well as other hilarity, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to get notified of those future videos. And one last thing is to keep your soul free.
Mm-hmm.